Hey guys, Andy here and Dave on the EverTrek Tuesday tune-in. So it's been really good over the last sort of couple of weeks. We've been doing, obviously last week was the Kilimanjaro premiere. If you haven't seen it yet, I highly recommend you get over and view it. But obviously the couple of weeks before that and today, we're just going to go through some questions that we've sort of been asked over the last few weeks around some of the different trips.
Yeah.
Also as well, today is a little bit of a sneak preview, really, because last night, wasn't it, Dave? We recorded another podcast episode.
Yes, we did. Finally, we couldn't hold back the tide any longer of people demanding more mountain malarkey. We finally did a podcast, and quite an interesting one, I think. Quite interesting.
It is good, isn't it? We called it a battle of the treks. Even though, I know we discussed it last night, but just to give you a little sneak preview, it's really around, the different treks that are out there. What type of challenge they are, difficulty level.
Yeah.
Also, what type of experience they are for you, because they're not for everyone.
No, exactly. And it came about because we know what it's like when you're trying to think of the next adventure or the first adventure.
Yeah.
You go into the website, click destinations, where to go.
Yeah.
And then it really is battle of the treks. What one's right for you, what one matches what you want to achieve, matches your personality, because believe it or not, certain trips do suit different personalities and things like that. So hopefully we've tried to resolve. There's no clear winner. The winner is a very individual thing. But battle
we both said that, didn't we? A little bit of a sort of tease, I suppose. Hey Ramona, how you doing? Just seen your message come through.
Ramona.
Again. Always watching our lives.
Multiple EverTrekker there, Ramona.
I know, and booked onto another trip I see yesterday. So well done. You also to go with Andrew, is it?
Yeah.
Andrew, your son Andrew. So look forward to having you with us again, Ramona. With our trips, obviously there's a varied now. We got Everest, we got Kili. We obviously got the South American trips, like Machu Picchu. We got Toubkal now, which we've launched quite recently. They're all very different, as well as like the 6,000 meter peaks. You've got the Annapurna region.
Yeah,
they're all very different trips. But where should we start, Dave? With Battle of the Treks. I know yesterday we.
Yeah, I think what I said in the podcast. So there might be some spoilers if you watch the podcast, but it just bears re-listening to. We talked about, so when it comes to what we do, I suppose the most popular destination that we take people to, and I think I likened it to it's our Big Mac, it's our flagship burger, is Everest Base Camp. That's what we originally started doing. That's what we specialized in. Yeah, and that's what we used as a blueprint to develop an EverTrekker experience and then transplant that to other countries. And I think the first they're two of the most popular, and it's the first should I or shouldn't I? Everest Base Camp or Kilimanjaro?
Yeah. It is, isn't it? It's always asked. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. And ever since we've come back, the questions have been, which is harder? Which is best if I have no experience? Which one should I do? I think we called it Battle of the Treks, but there's no clear winner, because I think it ultimately depends on what you would like to achieve from your experience.
Yeah.
So we said with Everest Base Camp, you are going to the Himalaya, you are going to see the biggest mountains in the world. That's really the reason why we're going. Everyone wants to see Mount Everest. Out of all the base camps in the Himalayan region, Everest Base Camp is the best, because you're at foot of the biggest mountain in the world. And it's the scenery, and you get to tread through history. You're following in the footsteps of some of the most famous mountaineers and some of the most famous climbs in history. And then Kilimanjaro, you can't really compare on difficulty, because it's 8 days. 7 days are about the same or easier than any day on the Everest Base Camp trip.
Yeah.
And then there's Summit Day, which is so much harder.
Which isn't like any other day.
Exactly, which is like nothing. It's like no other day I've ever done on a mountain. It was outstanding. But the reasons I think you would go there is you want the exhilaration and the achievement of having stood on one of the 7 summits, stood on the highest mountain in Africa, take in, the sunrise, on the roof of Africa. it's amazing.
Immense, isn't it?
It is immense. But I think when I left, if I was to think, when I left Kilimanjaro, I felt more like a sense of achievement, a sense of teamwork, a sense that I'd really done something special.
Yeah.
When I first left Everest Base Camp, it was more, I felt enriched, as a person.
Different type of journey, isn't it? It's
exactly.
What was it you said yesterday? It was almost around traveling through a landscape rather than climbing a mountain. Hey Jackie, how's it going?
Oh, hey Jackie.
Yeah, she booked onto EBC a few days ago. So great stuff. Look forward to having you with us, mate.
Yeah. 18 months. God, that's gonna fly by.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Hopefully it will. I know with all the current sort of situation, it's been a bit mad this season. If you've watched any of our other lives, you'll see that there was, we had some customers over in Nepal. Most of the season was cancelled.
Yeah.
We're really positive going forward. I mean, no one really knows at the moment, but we're certainly, as you can imagine, we have a positive outlook on it. Autumn, fingers crossed, all going well. But in 18 months, Everest will be waiting for you, Jackie. So we look forward to having you with us.
Yeah.
So going back to Everest, Dave, I know you called Everest our, what do you call it?
Yeah, I said Everest was like EverTrek's Big Mac.
Big Mac.
It's the flagship, and then Kilimanjaro would probably be, the McChicken sandwich, the second on the roster. But then I did say after that I was going to end the analogy because I could just get all the way down to the training weekend. That's the flurry. That's
I know.
So,
not that we are that close to McDonald's, but I know what you mean. It is kind of, Everest Base Camp is kind of what we're known for. We have opened up new products, as everyone knows. But Kili is definitely a completely different trip. And, it's like when you're on Everest Base Camp, you are journeying through villages. You are journeying through where people already live. With Kilimanjaro, when you start to when you finish, no one lives up there. It's kind of like as close to an expedition you can get in Africa.
Yeah, I mean, exactly like Sital. Hello, Sital has said, in our opinion, which is harder, EBC or Kili, we get it a lot. Some people want to know because they don't want to, it's their first trip and they want to go on what they would consider the easier one.
Yeah.
I think if you're just talking in terms of altitude, you go higher on Kili.
Yeah.
And summit day on Kili is a lot harder, I think, than any other day on the Everest Base Camp trip.
Yeah.
But the other 7 days are probably easier. Hey, Andrew, how's it going, mate? Glad to have you with us. You're going to absolutely love it. So I think it's really hard to sort of say which one would be the hardest. I think ultimately, I think you need to figure out exactly what you want to get out of the trip and not worry too much about which one's going to be the most difficult, because there are going to be times on both trips when you're really exhausted and tired. It's just on summit day on Kili, you're really, really exhausted and tired.
It is, isn't it? Yeah. It is about that. I think, having done both, both are difficult in their own way. I don't think there's one. As Dave said, there's not one day on Everest Base Camp that is harder, in our opinion, than Summit Night on Kili. Summit Night on Kili is because it's more about lack of sleep. It's all the different factors. Lack of sleep. You're hiking through the dark. You've already trekked for multiple days. You're high and higher than Everest Base Camp. So.
I'm glad you said that then, and we're high in terms of altitude.
Well, obviously, not now. But it is, when you're up there and you're almost at, you're 5.5, almost 6,000 meters.
Yeah,
it's hard work.
Yeah.
Getting a base camp. I remember the first time for me, it was hard work. But if you're looking at the more difficult trip, it's difficult. Kili is difficult because of one day. Just if you can get around that day, it's no more difficult than Everest Base Camp. It's just Summit Night.
Yeah.
Both are very different, and you'll have amazing experiences on both. I suppose, Sital, my answer would be, if you're going to try, because we get a lot of people who go to Everest Base Camp, they've already done Kili, but then we get loads of people who, who book to come with us to say do Everest Base Camp, and they're like, oh, I also want to do Kili. So it's whichever one you do first is fine. Everest Base Camp, it's got the culture, it's got the Kathmandu, which is awesome. It's got the Himalayas. There's no bigger mountains in the world.
Yeah,
Kilimanjaro is all about getting to the summit.
Exactly.
Really I hope that answers your question, Sital.
So Diane has asked, any more trips in the pipeline? She's done EVC, she's done Tupkal, Kilimanjaro. I mean, I suppose in the pipeline, if that's stuff...
There's a big one.
Yeah, I mean, wow. There's some amazing things out there that we're planning on doing. Mm-hmm. I mean, you don't want to give too many spoilers away, really, but there's a very large mountain. It begins with K and ends in 2. So there's K2 base camp. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's K2 base camp in Pakistan in the Karakoram. I think we'd love to extend further into the Himalaya.
Yeah.
There's some trips in India, I think, that we've been considering again for further into the Himalaya.
Yeah. In the Dak, it's quite beautiful little area there.
Yeah, there's a pretty high mountain over in Argentina, I think.
Yeah.
So Aconcagua, I think, is probably going to be relatively soon, and I would say,
literally within the next month. I know we've had some people who are already booked with us and we're kind of very friendly with.
Yeah.
Who have personally messaged me and asked about Aconcagua, the highest mountain outside of the Himalayas.
Exactly.
It's massively on the agenda. We're kind of working out, because we were going to try and do a trip this year, but with everything that's going on,
probably going to be next
year. About running our test pilot trip this year, so we're probably going to eke that into next year. We're unsure yet, but it's probably going to be next year. But yeah, Dave mentioned K2 base camp.
I'm loving the responses. That's one of my personal favorite. Yeah. It's a bucket list of mine, so I'm glad it's getting a little bit of a buzz.
Yeah.
Brooke's on here as well. Hi, Brooke.
Hey, Brooke. Hey, guys.
Brooke's coming to Aconcagua with us. When she was on Kilimanjaro, she said she really wants to do even higher mountains.
Well, so Ed definitely is. Ed Tooley, I know he's massively keen on coming on Aconcagua.
Hey, Ed. Ed, by the way, the old man's doing well, mate. Thanks for everything that you did for him. He's walking 3 miles a day, moving around, putting weight on it. So, healing up well.
I thought I'd put Ed there because he's like, hands up, he wants to go.
Yeah.
He's waiting for us to launch that. We will do, mate. It won't be long. But, K2 base camp is kind of, like you said, Davis, is somewhere that you really wanted to go on.
Yeah.
Over the last, 5-6 years.
5-6 years.
Andy, when are we going to do K2?
Yeah, exactly. It's every time we do the adventure travel show, both Andy and myself will have little moments where, we're going to go and have a round, chat to the other operators and see what's going on. I immediately go to the K2 one and and get as much information as I can, because I've really wanted to, I'd love to do, to travel the entire length of the Himalaya, visiting all the key spots, and K2 base camp, spending time in Islamabad, traveling through Pakistan. I think is, it's going to be a fascinating, amazing adventure.
Yeah.
Not much chat on Island Peak, boys. Oh, sorry, Mick.
Poor Mick. Sorry. We should do. And we actually, if you listen to the podcast, Mick, we did do one of those battles, because we've done Everest Base Camp versus Kili. That's always a big question. Another big one we get asked is Island Peak versus Mera Peak.
Yeah.
So we'll go into that one, I think, because you're right, Mick. Island Peak is in the Everest region. It's not that far away from Everest Base Camp. Mick, I know you've been to base camp already, but you've got some trekking peaks. Although we hate calling them trekking peaks, because there is some element of climbing involved.
Yeah,
you're on a 6,000 meter peak. You're above. You're on permafrost. You're on most of it. You're on a glacier.
Yeah,
that's not really trekking as such. It's you are ascending a 6,000 meter peak.
Yeah, exactly.
Dave, I think
sells it.
I know we talked about the differences between Mera Peak and Island Peak. Let's start with the highest, 6,476 meters, Mera.
Mera, yeah. I think, we sell a lot more, and a lot more people generally go to Island Peak Base Camp for one reason and one reason only. It's in the Everest region of Nepal.
Yeah.
So Mera is not. So when you arrive at Lukla, there's 2 ways out. You can go Everest route, or you can head towards Mera. And I think when it comes to Mera, it's one of those, I think a lot of people that have been to Everest Base Camp, there's a progression of stages. Yeah. You go to Everest Base Camp and you achieve it. And then if you fall in love with the region and you want to go back, you go back and you do Island Peak, because you've got to go bigger, higher, faster. Well, not faster, but bigger and higher. And then I think once you've done Island Peak and you're into your peak bagging over in the Himalaya, the natural progression then is Mera.
It's Mera.
And I think the surprise that people will have is that although it's not in the Everest region, the Himalaya is beautiful wherever you go. So yeah, it is one of those things. And yeah, calling them trekking peaks. I mean, technically they're trekking peaks. There is some crampon, ice axe, harnesses and stuff like that. So it's a little bit more than sort of any, the trekking peaks we're used to in the UK.
Yeah.
I like to just think of them as 6,000 meter mountains.
Yeah, which is what they are. Yeah, they've got their own challenges.
Exactly. And if anyone thinks that because it's a trekking peak that it's going to be easy, then we are here and more than happy to accept your booking and send you over to the Himalaya to have a crack.
But it's, it comes with like Mick. Obviously, Mick has done some training in North Wales with one of our very good friends, Steve, at Aim Higher. It's always handy if you're going to do these peaks. It's always good just to learn how to put crampons on, learn how to use an ice axe. It's not massively technical, but sometimes experience of walking on snow and ice with crampons does help. So, I think we are going to do something in the future about trying to do our own training of that alongside people like Steve. We're also doing some stuff in Scotland, but with Island Peak especially, it's changed over the last few years. Like it is, it's always been a great challenge. Like Mick, you'll do amazing on there. Fitness wise, you're there. Experience wise, you're there. But it is changed. Like one of the glaciers just before you get up to sort of just after base camp, really, is basically you've got a glacier that's sort of separated a bit. So what used to be one ladder is now 4.
Yeah.
So there's all these ladders strapped. It's very similar, I suppose. You could put it not the same bracket, but you've seen some pictures maybe of the Khumbu Icefall.
Yeah.
Like if you've ever watched the Everest movie, or if you ever watched some documentaries around Everest, you'll see the ladders going through the icefall. There is one section that is, you've got about. It does change. It could go down to 2, but at the moment it's 4 ladders to get across that.
Yeah.
So again, challenge of the mind, because it is quite challenging. But once you're up there, you're onto the peak. You then got this big slope before you get to the summit ridge, and there's about 100 meters there where it's they call it fixed rope climbing. So it's not like vertical. I forgot the actual degree of incline, but it pretty much means that you're all attached to a fixed rope with a Jumar going up the rope. So if you slip or anything, you're caught on the rope.
Yeah.
And that's for about 110 meters before you get to the summit ridge.
Yeah.
And then summit ridge all the way to the summit. One of the most beautiful things you could ever imagine. So, yeah, Mick, I hope that does it justice.
Exactly.
You're going to have an amazing time.
Another couple of questions I love here. One from a gentleman called Max Bibby. We know Max.
Bring him in again.
Yeah, exactly. K2 base camp sounds good. Or Lenin Peak. Yeah. One of our Sherpas, Sherpa guides Nawang, actually guides on Lenin Peak.
Yeah, he does.
And was doing that quite a lot. And he's one of the guys that took one of our customers, Callum, who did Mera and Island Peak in one
on the same trip, wasn't it? Yeah.
So really good guide, and very experienced on Lenin. So something we could definitely do. But Jackie Bally has asked a little off topic, but she was thinking about getting to Nepal a few days early and exploring the region by motorbike. Are there any higher places we could arrange? Yes, 100%. Our team over there have a lot of really good connections with like motorbike tours and stuff like that. That's a real big interest of our guy Anuj over there, head of operations over in Nepal. Yeah, he's a motorbike fanatic. That's the only way he gets round. And if you did want to do something like that, just drop us an email and we can set it up for you. Easy. Yeah, exactly. I think, Dave, I know you're you've always been into your motorbikes, haven't you? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I keep saying, me and Anuj keep planning that we're going to go and ride maybe Kathmandu to Pokhara on a couple of the BMWs and something like that. But, I'd love to be over there doing that now, to be fair. I know. Well, it's kind of one of those things, isn't it? All these weeks that go on, and it's, I say it's hard. It's always good having a bit of levity and perspective. I know, if you're watching and your frontline staff, like, fair dues night, my hat off to you, because I know you've obviously got a lot harder than we have. I mean, we're just stuck at home, but we can't wait just to get out there. And this excitement is definitely building up for me. I mean, I can't wait to get out to the mountains now. No, I can't. No, I'm now facing my window. I've changed my spot in the room so I can just look outside. But actually, one thing Jackie did say, something vintage would be awesome. I don't know if there's actually any true vintage bikes over there.
Yeah.
But a lot of bikes over there are Royal Enfields, which are made in India. So if you wanted a vintage feel and look, get your Royal Enfield.
Classics. Just going through some questions here, because Lauren, our social Yeti, she is basically collating all the questions. Also, we've had on email, our messenger, we've had a lot of questions come through. So I'm just going through here just to pick them up, because there's a few. Oh, excuse me. Let's have a little look. We've got a few in here. Where is it? That one was, that's right, around flight prices. So I think it was a lady called Karen who emailed in. Sorry, Karen, I can't remember your surname, but you mentioned about all these different trips that we're doing. Because I know we're talking about trips against trips, but when it comes to flight prices, because obviously on all of our trips, we don't organize your international flights. We can point you in the right direction. It may improve soon in terms of we may be able to do that in the coming months. That's still a work in progress for us. We don't want to do that until it's as good as and we get as much value of it as possible. But yeah, so in terms of flight prices, so you say you're going over to Everest, depends on your time of year. But Everest Base Camp, can be anything between £400 to £800, depending on the time of year you go. If you're going in the spring, so it can be popular. So you're looking at sort of £600 to £800. Same relatively in the autumn. Obviously, you want to book it as soon as you can. Anything between, around about like 9 months before you go is good. I would suggest. If you go into Kilimanjaro, very, very similar because they're both long haul. You're looking at anything around the sort of 500-600 mark if you book in advance. Peru is a little bit more, than that. So you're looking at maybe £600-700 if you book in advance. When you go to Toubkal, which is one of the big things about Toubkal, it's only a 3.5 hour flight. I think there's flights going in the autumn at the moment on some of our dates, which are less than £80 return. Yeah,
if you fly from Manchester with EasyJet,
there
are like return flights for like £80. Which is crazy. I know James Tomlin, just to carry, he said, "What have you missed about Aconcagua?" We're going to be launching it very soon. And we expect our first trip to be autumn 2021, something like that.
It'll be next year. I know. I've chatted to a few of the guys around it, and while we're on the trips then, we've just dripped on Toubkal there. Let's go on to what we talked about last night, which was Toubkal versus Machu Picchu. Two trips, two very, very cultural trips, I would say. Two very different places, different cultures, different religions, but very beautiful places. Let's start with Toubkal then.
I think Toubkal and Machu Picchu, I think, are very much, it's more like you're still going to altitude. When you go to Machu Picchu, 4,900 meters on the route that we take. When you go to Toubkal, obviously that's up to, Andy, help me out,
4,176.
4,100 and a bit. So so you're still getting into like it's difficult to breathe levels of altitude. But we were talking about it last night, and we were talking about like if you had to sort of differentiate the trips and give people advice, they wanted to do Toubkal or Machu Picchu before they go on to something like Base Camp or Kili. Which one would they choose? And I said, well, ultimately, I think it's about what you want to actually get out of the trip itself. Both of them offer massive sort of doses of culture shock for you and culture learning, because you'll be going to two very different parts of the world, particularly say Machu Picchu, for instance, which is like, millenniums old civilizations there that built something, and
a lot of history there.
Exactly, and even just like walking around Marrakesh and things like that, just this ancient old city, still very much how it was. It's modernized in some ways, but in other ways it's very much how it was sort of generations ago.
You mean Cusco?
Yeah, exactly. No, sorry. I moved to Toubkal as well.
Oh, sorry, mate.
I'm bouncing back and forth. But Toubkal, I think, is one of those things that to go over to South America, to go to Nepal, it takes a long time and a lot of effort. If you wanted to get the same level of experience, but you wanted to, you don't have 3 weeks of your life to put aside, Toubkal is perfect for you because it offers everything you need to. You're climbing the highest mountain in North Africa. You go into the stunning Atlas Mountains. You were going to spend time in Marrakesh, which, Andy, I know you were there recently.
I have to drop that in because she's bang on. She is bang on. what that's like.
Exactly. Yeah, Brooke is our like Wonder Woman.
She is.
Exactly. Yeah. And obviously it does offer you, a big summit. So, you have a summit night that everything's leading up to summit night. You can smash it out, long day, night hiking, and then come back down again. But the main key reason why I think it's popular is you can do it in 4 days. We do an 8-day one, but we also offer a 4-day one. So you can leave summit to Cal and come back in like 5 days. So, it's a really, really convenient way for you to get that taste of adventure, see something completely different, and it's only a 3-hour flight. It's so perfect for like being able just to hop on the plane. Yeah,
it is, and it's very, it's different culturally. Like 3 hours. I mean, that's one of the beauties of the UK, isn't it? You're 3.5 hours from a completely different culture. And on all of these trips, just to drop in, because I know we're chatting about all the trips now. If anyone here hasn't booked on with us, I know a lot of people who are on here are already EverTrekkers. You've already been on a trip with us, or you're already looking at other trips. But I want to just point out as well, don't forget we're in April. All of April's £10 deposit. If you are keen to book on a trip, then we'd love to have you with us again. Or if you haven't been on a trip with us, then we'd love to have you, just so you can see what EverTrek's all about. Obviously we've got the community and the high altitude EverTrekkers group. But it's £10 for all of April, so definitely get yourself in on a trip with us. But yeah, whilst we're talking about Marrakesh, Cusco, and Peru, that's where Machu Picchu kind of comes into its own, because Latin America, South America, the Andes, great name, that's the mountain range. It's kind of something that you can't describe. Like, you go out there, and obviously we're going on a trip, but the route we've chosen to run our trips is the Tomakea route, which is we call the Hidden Valley, because no one goes there. As far as we know, no other company in the UK actually goes on this trip, which is why it's been, it's people want to go there. So for us, we talked last night and said, what would we do now? Was it Dave? You asked me a question and said, what would you do now if
I said
everything was lifted and you could go on one trip? What would you do?
I've spoken to Boris. He's given you special dispensation to catch a flight. You're going tomorrow. You've got to decide right now where you're going. And your answer was?
Well, mine was Machu Picchu.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yours, go on. And I mean, there's obviously reasons behind that, but yeah, I just because it's such a new trip and a new route that we haven't actually done. Like, our team over there have been doing it for 30 years in terms of the route and the area. But it's away from the Inca Trail. It's away from the Salcante route. It's on a really unused trip. We thought that would be awesome, which is why we've had so many people book onto it.
Yeah.
But that's why, for me, something that hasn't been done before like that is a draw for me now.
Yeah.
Not taking anything away from all the other trips, because at the end of the day, obviously we're EverTrek.
You've done base camp 5 times, mate.
I'm going to go back to Kili, so you can imagine why I want to do Tubkal. Bloody hell. Machu Picchu.
Too many trips, mate. It was easier when it was just base camp.
And Dave, I'll ask you the same question then.
Yeah. So I said I think I'd join you on the trek in Machu Picchu, but I think I'd go via Nepal. I'd go the long way around.
Maybe for a few days.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe because I miss those guys over there. By now, normally we, maybe me or you would have been over there and hooked up with the guys, and I absolutely love it over there. So I think maybe 4 or 5 days in Kathmandu, and then I catch a flight and come meet you in Cusco.
That's fair. No, you're right. I mean, at the end of the day, we obviously, if you're following us, you've seen that we started a GoFundMe page for some of our staff in Nepal who, would normally be working now, be normally getting money, supporting their families. And that's why we set up the GoFundMe page. It is actually on the live at the bottom. I did put it in there. So I just think it's worth mentioning what you mentioned about the guys over in Nepal, Dave, that, if you want to donate to them, because we are sending the money over there, to cover their wages and everything, during the, obviously the trekking season that's been cancelled. Just wanted to throw that out there. If you do want to donate, go onto the link. And I know lots of you already have, and huge thanks to all of you. It means a lot, because, we set that up because people in our community said, look, can we do this? And, we were like, it's a type of community that we love to be a part of.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about our EverTrekkers. They're all, you're all awesome people. So yeah, if you want to donate, it's just in the link on this live. But yeah, so I mean, a few more questions then. We'll get a few more in. And like I said, if you're watching, post some more. If you've got any questions about any of our trips, do fire them, because that's what we're here for.
Well, Nick Taylor, who's just come back, said
Okay.
must be missing them. I think they are. I think they've got a surplus of beer over there at the moment. So I think that Nick was actually one of our guys that went over and trekked to Everest and came back, and then unfortunately got caught out with the flight bans and things like that. So had something like a 2-week extended holiday in Kathmandu. But no, great to have you back with us. I reckon it's one of those situations though where you really want to get back. You miss your friends, you miss your family. You're back for a week, and you think to yourself, "God, it was easier in Nepal."
Yeah, exactly. It is like that. Yeah, nice, Nick. I'm glad you like the loft. We've used quite a lot of different hotels in Kathmandu, but the hotels we've used before are all brilliant. But we've looked at a loft, and we're definitely thinking of using that all going forward. So yeah, if you come on a trip with us, you might get to look at a loft relatively soon. Got another question here, which was from Peter Ferguson. How cold is EBC in February? Wow. It's having been there in February myself, it is very cold. Winter conditions. It's we don't normally run trips during winter just because of the unpredictability of the weather, meaning that flights to Lukla can be delayed for days and days.
Yeah. So
it's hard for us to maintain trips like we normally do in the spring and the autumn, which is why we don't do it. We did do a private trip back in February with I think it was 5 guys who were local to us, actually from South Wales, and they all reached Everest Base Camp. They had an awesome time. It was super cold. I mean, when I was there in January and February 2016, it got down to about -25 at night. So it's damn cold.
Yeah.
But if you like the cold, I mean, for me, it was I prefer the cold to the heat, so I loved it. But you could feel it. The way I sort of described it to Dave when you first asked me, I was like, the wind and the cold gets into your kidneys.
Yeah.
That cold. It doesn't matter how many down jackets you're wearing, it will get you cold. So, but yeah, I have to be honest, it's a beautiful time to visit. You do get some snow there, mind. It's which is beautiful.
Yeah. Jackie Bally says Lawrence put one through. Another random one. I'd also like to get a traditional bamboo tattoo.
There we go, Dave.
Yeah,
I think that's one for you.
I don't know what you mean. I don't know where you could get them, but I've never had a tattoo over there done like that. I really want one. I've had one done. Yeah. I had an Icelandic one done that was poked with like whalebone.
Wow.
Which had that the compass design. I forget the name of it. Like the Icelandic compass. Yeah, had that on my leg. But I could find out for you, 100%. It's like if you're like me and you've got too much time on your hands, then getting a tattoo is always a great way to spend the day. But no, I can find out for you. So drop me an email. Just email dave@evertrek.co.uk and I'll let you know. Yeah,
nice. Yeah, bamboo is. I've heard that bamboo tattoos are a lot more painful than normal tattoos, right?
No idea. They all hurt.
See, this is because I haven't got any tattoos. Dave has more than enough for all of our team.
Yeah.
But I will be getting one in the future.
Yeah, I think I don't know if they hurt anymore. I've had hand poked ones and I've had the bamboo one. Yeah. They all hurt. I'm over it.
So Kath Jones, very good question. Trying to convince my husband to do EBC with me. He's very shy, worried about his fitness. He's a very fit farmer. Any words of encouragement? I suppose it comes down to Kath. Obviously you're chatting and you're thinking about it. You don't have to be super fit. If you join our community, you see there's a lot of us who, there's all shapes and sizes, all level of fitness.
Yeah.
Everest Base Camp is the trip that it will make it easier. You can do it without any training, but doing the training just makes it a little bit easier, doesn't it, Dave?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Honestly, I was going to say, if he's a fit farmer, we've got a couple of farmers, like John from Brecken's a farmer.
Yeah.
Chiara was a farmer. Farmers do very well. If you can get through if you can get up at 5 in the morning or 4 in the morning every day and get to a lambing season and still be walking upright, then yeah, EBC is well within your capability. Farmers, they tend to be quite tough as well, like resilient and tough. So yeah, tell him, no need to be shy. Everyone's a good crack over there. So, he's going to be fit enough based on what you've said. If you class him as very fit, Kath, I take your word for it. And he doesn't even need to be very fit. So yeah, absolutely. He can come.
I think it comes down to, how much you want to get there. Because fitness doesn't really come into it. It's more about just staying positive, enjoying yourself, looking after your body. Yeah. Because you're only walking. You're walking at high altitude. Obviously, when you get higher, it means you slow down. But just because you're fitter than someone else doesn't mean you're going to do better than altitude. It's a real leveler. We've had people who are super fit actually struggle at high altitude compared to people who are nowhere near as fit as them, just because they've taken their time to acclimatize. It's all about the acclimatization. So, Kath, if you want us to have a chat with your husband, more than happy, to do that. If you want to drop your details, email info@evertrek.co.uk. Yeah. One of us can have a chat with yourself. Maybe we could do a call like this if you wanted to. If you want to have a chat about it.
Someone Sinead just said there is a mental strength.
Yeah.
That counts. I'd be inclined to agree with that. Yeah, I think. My dad's friend Adrian came to Everest Base Camp in October.
Yeah.
And I think that he had every right to quit based on his level of fitness.
Yeah.
But he kept focused, he kept himself happy, and he made it there just by pure strength of character and strength of mind, really. Yeah. So yeah, that's absolutely right.
There we go. I think Kath's just on here again, and she says he does favour the F word known as what's that? France?
He does favour the F word known as die. Diebach. But anyway, die is also Nepalese for brother.
Really, I didn't know that.
Exactly. Yeah. So
there we go. Yeah. There we go, Kath. Have a word of him. I do recommend as well, because we get asked this question a lot. Which is why we've created a lot of content around it. You go to our knowledge center. If you go to the EverTrek website and there's a section there saying knowledge center, there's a few details in there about maybe articles. One of them says, how fit do I need to be? Another one's about what experience you need. Maybe get them to have a little read of those. There's a couple of videos in there worth a watch. I think it's myself just talking about it. And just have a little look. And if he is worried, get him on the High Altitude EverTrekkers Facebook group. Get him to post in there, and there's other people who will explain their situation, because that's what we're for. We're normal people. We're not super fit, and we're fine at altitude. It's just the things you do whilst you're there that's important.
Or a training weekend,
Yeah.
I think you come on a training weekend and you'll soon be very much at ease when you see how the trek goes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, great.
Just going through any more on here, but it's. No, I mean, when it comes to, we'll sort of start to round it up, I think, Dave. And, it's any of these trips, all of the different types of trips can be challenging in their own way. I know we've had another question. I think Stephen Robertson, nice to see you. I know you asked about whether EBC or Kili is more difficult, which one. Yeah, definitely look beginning, because someone else asked the question. And they're both very, very sort of different trips. Kili can be difficult because of one night, whereas Everest Base Camp, is more about the same each day, unless you want to go up Kalapatar, because I'd say Kalapatar is probably one of the most challenging parts to it. Yeah. But any of these trips you go on, definitely a challenge. All of them are a challenge in their own right. They're all difficult in their own right, but they're all why we love trekking and why we love hiking, why we love doing a bit. If you go to Island Peak, why you like climbing. If it was easy, then everyone would do it.
Yeah,
exactly. And that's what makes it better. I think, Dave, when you said about when we got to the top of Kili and back down, even though it was hard afterwards, I think Steve was doing some filming with you, and I think you mentioned that it's something you can talk about when you go back home and you tell your friends, you tell your family, and it's almost those things that you don't really think about, that when you come back and you've got a story to tell, you at the pub having a pint and you're sharing a story with your friend because you've done this challenge, because you've taken on something like that. You grow as a person.
Exactly. I didn't say it better myself. Yeah, no, I agree. I think when it's one of those things that, like, you do things like base camp or Kilimanjaro, and then it'll hit you like a month after or something like that, and you'll be like, oh yeah, I did do that, didn't I?
Exactly.
Hey, Stu.
Hey, Stu, how you doing? Stu came with us to Everest Base Camp in April last year.
Yeah,
Can't believe it's been a year already.
Crazy, isn't it?
Wow, that's nuts. But no, it's been brilliant. Look, Dave, I know we've covered a lot. Is there anything else you want to go over? I know we've talked a lot about different types of
I think that's pretty good. I think we've answered a lot of the questions. So but obviously, you don't just have to ask them on here. If you guys think of anything else that you want to do, then just fire them over. I've got nothing else to do in my time, so I'd be more than happy to just sit there and talk base camp, talk Kili, talk Machu Picchu, whatever you want to do.
Exactly. No, and just a little bit of a tease as well, because we've over the next few days, I'm going to be doing another live towards the end of the week, and it's a little bit, and if you can, just a question to all of you: what do you think has been so imagine now the last 4 weeks during lockdown, what do you think has been our best-selling trip? Comment below. I'll be back at the end of the week and we'll talk a little bit about it. But let me know what you think's been our best-selling trip. What's our EverTrekker favorite at the moment? Far away. Put some comments there. I'll be teasing a little bit more on some. I'll put another couple of posts. But let me know what you think is our most popular trip at the moment, and we'll talk about it a little bit further in the week. As I said before, if you're looking to book on a trip with us, it's £10 to get yourself. Because we realise that now is difficult for everyone. Things can be a little bit tight, so we thought, right, we'll drop our deposits to £10.
Yeah.
Or any trips in 2021, 2022, get yourself on it, because when we come out of this, like we are now, we want to get to the mountains and we want to go on an adventure. So if that's you want to come with us, then we'd love to have you with us. But yeah, comment below. What do you think's been our best seller, EverTrekker favorite the last 4 weeks?
Excellent.
Cheers, Dave. I'll see you soon. I'll obviously catch up after the call. But don't forget, we'll be EverTrekker Tuesday tune-in next week. So every Tuesday during the lockdown, we'll be here. Any questions, just comment and we'll take them on next week.
No worries. See you guys. Thanks for
See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Here's a bit of